Hello and welcome to Mystic Visions. This is a reading for Taurus in the month of January 2001. If you are not a Taurus, please look on my channel to find the reading for your sign. Now, this is a general reading. It's meant to apply more broadly across the entire month. And if you're looking for something more specific, please check out my daily readings. In this reading, we'll be using my adaptation of the Celtic Cross, and I'll explain the meaning of each card as I draw them. Please leave a message in the comments if you have any questions or if you'd like some clarification. I'd also be very happy to draw a few additional cards for anyone who has subscribed to my channel, so just ask me in the comments if that's something you'd like. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started for Taurus. So this card represents the current situation. This is what's crossing you. This is what you're moving away from. This is what you're moving toward. This is the foundation, or what's in the subconscious. This is the crowning thoughts or conscious mind. Here's your advice card. This is your current environment. That's your fears. And this is the overall message, or the long-term outcome. Okay, so what you have here for your current situation is the Seven of Cups. So there may be like a lot of options coming at you, almost from like all directions. And the deal here is that none of these options are really in your best interest. There are a little bit of there's like a trap behind each one of these things. So there may be a lot of people who are trying to tug at you and say, you know, you should come this way or this way. But in reality, a lot of the, well, almost, you know, if not all, most of these options are really kind of trying to serve some other agenda and not in your best interest. What's crossing you here is this justice in the reverse. So this is, you know, an injustice. There's something that it's not really fair that it's happened to you, but it's, you know, just kind of a failure of justice. And so that could be, you know, somebody's done you wrong, or, you know, if it's something to do with law or courts, something has not really worked out in your favor the way that it was supposed to, or you know, you may be innocent and they are trying to say that you're guilty, you're wrongfully accused. But there's sort of just a problem with the way justice has been carried out here, which is maybe aggravating you or crossing you in this time of your life. And what you're moving away from is this Page of Cups in the reverse. So the Page of Cups is usually very open to, you know, spontaneity and things like that. But in the reverse, of course, it's more of a resistance to that. So you're moving away from being resistant to nonsense and spontaneity, and meaning you're becoming more comfortable with that type of an energy. You are, you know, being a little bit more whimsical and free-flowing, and just like allowing the world to be what it is and enjoying the sort of magic and majesty of it all. And you're moving toward this Empress energy, Empress in the reverse again. So the Empress is kind of that divine feminine, nurturing energy. This has a lot to do with pregnancy, or, you know, rearing a small child or something like that. But in a more general sense, it's just sort of that loving type of an energy. So, you know, the counterpart to the Empress, the Emperor, is more of like a father figure, and he rules by putting like rules and regulations and all kinds of things like that in place, which will, in his intentions, it will make the child become like a model citizen, or make its personality be a certain way that's adaptable and suitable for the world that he lives in. Whereas this Empress is a little bit more of, you know, rules that are for the good of the individual. This is, you know, don't touch the hot stove and things like that. It's not so much concerning like how you ought to be and how you ought not to be. So the Empress has a lot more of a loving, nurturing sort of a energy about her. And she, and in the reverse here, this is, you're headed into a spot where you're not wanting to feel that kind of a way. So there may be some harshness that comes up in you, some discontent or unforgiving nature that comes possibly as the result of maybe this justice not being worked out the right way, that could cause some animosity or some hard feelings, so to speak. So this is kind of what you're moving toward. Now, what's in the subconscious here, or the foundation, is this Hanged Man. So this kind of represents, like, where does this lesson come from? What is the bigger picture here? What's at work? What are you learning through this circumstance? And with the Hanged Man, there's this message of sometimes it's kind of out of your hands. It's there's nothing you can really do but watch and wait for it to go on. And it's a message of when you come to those kind of places, if you just sort of allow whatever's happening to happen and to flow with it, rather than constantly trying to, like, aggressively mentally fight it and reject what's going on, you can actually get through it a lot easier, and you can move on. So it's a message of learning to control what you can control and to not control what you can't, or, well, not try to control what you can't, because that's just really a waste of energy. So there are better ways for you to use your time. If you're worried about, like, being falsely accused, don't spend all your time trying to defend yourself, but instead devote yourself to something else, and that'll very likely work out better for you, because if you have, some project or something going on, it's less likely that people can believe someone if you're falsely accused about something. You have an alibi, so to speak. So make it a good alibi, right? And additionally, this is just a lesson in, sometimes things aren't fair. Sometimes things don't work out in your best interest. But if they don't, you can just sort of, power through and learn to let go and to move on, and to still keep a certain love in your heart and that type of thing, and not get bitter, because there are a lot of people out there who do try to take advantage of others and seek to do wrong. So if you really get sidetracked anytime something like that happens, or if you fall into it, you're destined for a hard time. So the idea here is to kind of, like, just let it go, do some meditation. Don't fixate your thoughts really intensely on anybody or any person. And I know what this feels like, where somebody makes you so angry that really your thoughts, the intensity of your thoughts could just burn a hole in that person. So that's what you're trying to really absolve or move away from in this type of a situation. It's a lesson to just sort of, like, let things roll off, let things not affect you quite so much, and that really minimizes the impact of these transgressions. It's like you don't want to let somebody live rent-free in your head, right? So in the crowning thoughts here, you have this Queen of Coins, and that Queen of Coins is very actually similar to the Empress. So it, to me, you have this idea, or this importance of being this nurturing type of an energy, or taking care of. This also is associated with pregnancy a lot, and also, with taking care of a child. The Queen of Coins is really good at making, like, a happy home. She's good at managing her finances and saving and things like that. So you've got some good intentions here. The fact that you're moving away from, or you're moving toward this Empress in the reverse, to me suggests that you may be sort of compartmentalizing this energy around. So in other words, you're feeling this way greatly about certain people or things in your life, but not so much about others. And it can be that your sort of protective nature regarding one aspect of your life is leading you to feel really aggressive about another aspect or another entity in your life. So I would say that the best advice here is not to, you can't be. Vengeance is not protection. So this is something that I find a lot of people don't really understand because I think really just because in our society we've been led to think that things are a certain way and it's not necessarily true. For example, our society tends to rely heavily on just having a lot of police to solve its crime problems. And the problem with that ideology is that the police really catch a criminal once a crime has already happened. So we put next to no effort into figuring out how to solve the problems that start the crime in the first place. What's the issue that led to a person wanting to do this crime, instead of just trying to solve it with a sort of vengeance mindset or punishing what does happen. So yes, punishment might be effective. Personally, I haven't found it to be extremely effective if there is not some other incentive or some other part of it. Punishment alone doesn't really prevent people from doing crime. Instead, it just makes them more careful not to get caught, right? So there has to be some other type of way that you put effort into ensuring that crime doesn't happen in the first place, or ensuring that others are not hurting those around you. So yeah, rather than approaching it from this sort of justice mindset, which is probably not going to work in your benefit in this case, find a way to focus more on the good aspect, or attracting the situation that you want. So, if you're worried about let's give it an example here. Like, let's say you have a child and maybe they're, in their teens or something like that, and they're just starting to get dating or something. And there is perhaps like a boy that shows an interest, but you are pretty savvy and you recognize that this boy is not very trustworthy. Well, instead of just punishing the child, or not punishing, but instead of forbidding the child to hang around the sketchy little individual, it's much better to solve that issue by giving the child something else that they really want to do. Taking them to some place that they always like going, and spending time with them, and attracting them to a brighter subject, instead of just simply prohibiting them from going to the darker place. So that's difficult to do often, but it takes some effort and some attention in a situation like that. But that's kind of the general idea here, is to focus on ways of pointing the situation more toward the light, instead of just simply focusing on relying on that sort of justice, or in this case, maybe vengeance. The advice card for you here is the Eight of Cups. This Eight of Cups, the advice for that is to withdraw some, or to sort of like to go away on some sort of a trip or adventure or something like that. And I know that can be difficult in this time as well, but more generally, it's like kind of let go a little bit, or it may be here that your protective instincts are firing on all cylinders and it's a little overbearing. So just sort of letting go and relaxing about the situation is a much better way to be about it. I know personally I didn't want to have like an overbearing parental energy around me. That kind of, if anything, that led me to be more rebellious and to do things to get into more trouble whenever that was the case. So I flourished very greatly from having parents that allowed me a lot of freedom to make mistakes and to do the things I want. And the way you can look at it is, you don't really learn from other people's experience. You might listen to it and you might, take it into consideration, and you might know it on sort of a superficial level, but you really don't know things until you go through those experiences yourself. And a lot of parents will try to sort of protect or shelter their children from those types of mistakes, and it's really it's not doing them a favor, because by learning from mistakes, that's the way that these things sink in the most. And so the objective is not to prevent your children from failure or to prevent people from failing. It's more to sort of create an environment where they are able to fail in a safe way. And if you can do that, if you can make their failures a learning experience for them earlier on when it's lower stakes, then they won't make those mistakes when it is a little bit higher stakes or when things are a little bit more dire, Now, your current environment is this Six of Wands. So there is, with the Six of Wands, there's like a little bit of celebration. There's some accomplishment here. There is also a kind of rising above the clatter, or there could be some arguments going on or something like that, and you're kind of above that. You've kind of reached this plane where you're feeling a little bit more elated, and that kind of stuff is not bothering you so much. And so there could be some kind of turmoil around you that you're able to sort of rise above and feel the sense of success, right? Now, the fears card for you is this Ace of Cups. So Ace of Cups, typically is like a positive, an environment for like a new sense of emotional satisfaction. Something like maybe you've been alone for quite a while, and then now a relationship comes along or something like that. That's typically what the Ace of Cups means. But now in the reverse here, you're resistant to a new type of emotion, and this could be, very well something negative. So you could be afraid that you're going to experience some sort of hurtful emotion, some loss, or just something new that you really haven't had to deal with and you don't want to deal with. And very, very understandable. But again, a lot of times we have to be very careful that we don't make these things a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, or that you don't drive someone to the very behavior that you're afraid that they're going to exhibit. You don't want to sort of smother something out of existence because you're so scared you're going to lose it. And your overall message here is the Seven of Coins. And this represents, the idea here is that you've planted the seed, you've done the work, and it's about time for it to pay off. And it's like, it's not time for harvest just yet, but you're just about there. And so in the regard, with this, I think that you've planted some really good seeds here, and it's time to kind of, you don't want to be overbearing and like constantly. You can definitely, anybody who's tried to grow a plant can tell you that you can overlove a plant very easily and end up killing it by overwatering it or just, doing too much with it. And it's better to kind of like leave hands off a little bit and have some faith that your hard work is going to pay off. If this is regarding like a child or something, you have to have some faith that you've taught them the right thing and that they can be trusted to take care of themselves. But just more generally in your life, there is some good things coming that you have, you've put that effort in. And so just have a little bit of faith that it is going to come through, and a little bit of patience is usually called for when this card comes up as well. So that's about it for Taurus for this month. Again, please let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I would be happy to draw some additional cards for anybody who is a subscriber to the channel. So thank you very much, and we'll see you guys next time, and have a good one.